Hail and well met friends! Handang here for a producer's letter discussion. The 2015 producer's letter did come out, but preceding it there was news about a new executive producer, so we're going to start out with that. And as you can see here in the article, LOTRO is getting a new executive producer, Athena Peters. In an update to the players, the executive producer for LOTRO, Rowan, announced that he will be moving on to another project at Turbine. And he says, after 8 years, 5 expansions, and 1 free-to-play transition, the time has come for me to sail to the west. More accurately, I'm moving 30 feet down the hall to start a new project at Turbine. With that, I'm leaving you in the very capable hands of another Turbine veteran, executive producer Athena Peters. And I would like to point out that Rowan was only in the position of executive producer for 11 months, and he took it after the layoffs early in 2014. And he does end his producer's letter saying, in the next year, you'll see continued drive to deliver great story content in an authentic world, but you'll also need new investment in group challenges and content, which sounds kind of like advice to the next producer because he says you'll need new investment, almost like it's, advice to the next person. I don't know. Anyway, we do have a new executive producer now, Athena Peters. This seems to have been in the work for a while, since we didn't get a producer's letter immediately after the last update like we were supposed to. Could possibly be because of the fact that Rowan was already planned to possibly be moving on to new things. But anyway, joining me to do this chat is the normal cast of LOTRO Players News minus Pineleaf. And so let's go ahead and go into it. And Drac, you've had experience with Athena Peters because she's the executive producer for DDO, or at least was, I guess.
Well, she was the franchise director
Oh, well, that's fancy.
for DDO, and she was pretty active in the community, and she was very upfront and vocal about some of the updates, and if people had problems with updates, she was very vocal and upfront in the forums about it and talking to the players. So if she does what she did over at DDO, this should be a good fit for LOTRO, I think.
All right, awesome. Does anyone else have any other thoughts on the new executive producer?
One of my big things is I like to see communication, and so far it's her first day that she was announced, and she's communicated with us twice. So far, so good.
That's true. Yeah, it does seem to be pretty good. And speaking of discussing to us twice, the new executive producer did release their producer's letter, which outlines what's going to be happening in the first half of 2015. And so I'm going to go ahead and read off of that. Hello all, I'm Athena, and a very unpronounceable name, Peters, executive producer of The Lord of the Rings Online. Thank you for welcoming me. I'm really excited to be exploring Tolkien's world and all the adventures that have and will take place here. 2014 was a great year for LOTRO, and we hope you agree. Our focus for the year was expanding our story into Gondor, improving epic battles with Peligir, and introducing the new class, the Beorning. Our progress in these areas sets us up for ambitious goals in 2015. Our story continues in 2015 with both Osgiliath and Minas Tirith.
It's easy for you to say.
Although there will be I'm still hung up on her name. Anyway, although there will be multiple updates throughout the year, these major locations will be the focus of our largest releases. That's interesting wording. Each expands the world of Middle-earth even further and puts us in view of Doth and Mordor itself.
I took that to mean 2 major releases, Osgiliath and Minas Tirith.
Right. Yeah. Will be the focus of our largest releases. Okay, yeah, you're right. So anyway, it's good to know that they're still planning to go to Minas Tirith this year, even with the change in power. Alright, so major 2015 initiatives. She does have a kind of bullet list here, and it starts out with legendary items. With the Osgiliath update, you will be able to imbue level 100 items. The imbued item continues to gain experience and will no longer need to be deconstructed to advance. These items are already in internal testing. There are many details still to work out, but you should expect a developer diary on the topic early this year. Okay, first of all, I would just like to say, just the fact that they promise a developer diary is a big improvement from 2014. I don't think we had any developer diaries, at least not since update 13. And already here a promise of more communication. So I think that's pretty good. At the same time, this system was delayed. And I kind of was expecting them to say, okay, now you'll be able to do it from level 50 to 100 or something like that.
Yeah. I've kind of said my piece about allies plenty of times before. I'm not going to go over that stuff again. It's like way covered.
Yep.
My pretty big point I'd want to make this is that you only be able to imbue at level 100, which is, to me at least, is kind of missing the point of why people aren't current, or at least some people aren't currently liking the ally system, is the constant remaking it, and this doesn't really solve it. It solves future efforts at level 100 having to remake it, but between 50 and 100, you still got to go through all the same stuff.
Yeah, they did say earlier, that they'd be looking at possibly going back into it. They don't mention that here, but, maybe they will if players really like the new thing. Because, technically it could be worse, the new way that they're doing things. I know that's hard to believe, but, it could end up being worse. But hopefully it'll be better, and, hopefully they'll eventually add it on to lower levels.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on legendary items from anybody else?
I guess I was a little surprised to see that as well, Athelros, because it seemed like we heard it was going to be level 100 early last year, and then it seemed like we were kind of led to believe that it was delayed because they were looking at doing it at lower levels, or at least expanding the system. So,
I don't know if led to believe,
if...
but it seemed like that they said something along the lines of they needed more time to make the system better or something.
Yeah.
So that kind of implied that it would be
I don't know
more.
if that was before the second round of layoffs that year or after it. But
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember either. But if that might have.
Yeah.
Still excited to see this though. I'm gonna imbue as soon as I can.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Not gonna wait. But I think it's cool that they do have the imbue option. So I guess theoretically players could still use the normal ally progression. Maybe. If they really wanted to. Anyway, new fellowship challenges as the producer's letter continues on. As we push into the heart of the War of the Ring, this is the perfect time for us to renew our focus on group content and instances. Expect new instances in Osgiliath, along with additional roving threats and group content on the landscape. Okay, so in update 16, presumably, we are going to have new roving threats, additional group content on the landscape, and new instances in Osgiliath that they did confirm later is actually not epic battles, it is instances, although there won't be a raid. That's a lot of group content for one update.
Yeah, the roving threats aren't really that much to crow about. It's
True.
just a few mobs scattered around. I'm wondering if this is the update where they're gonna throw them into other areas, which kind of got accidentally teased a few weeks ago, where some of them turned up in Angmar.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's the update they're going to put them in, but it seems like it would be the place.
Mm-hmm.
The instances, the clarification post the producer made said that it is going to be an instance cluster. So I'm going to take that to mean probably maybe 3 3-mans and 2 6-mans.
Yep, and it does say, they did say, referring to an instance cluster, or a cluster of instance content for 3 and 6-man fellowships that is neither a big battle or a raid. And we evaluate the type of content we build with each region for what is appropriate and feasible. So we might do a raid again someday, but Osgiliath is not the time to do it. So there you go.
Okay then.
Any other thoughts on new instances? I think that this is nothing but good news. It's still not a raid, but at least it's something.
Yeah, they're sticking to their we will use the appropriate tools to tell the story mantra here. So it sounds like they're also listening to the players that are saying we need more group content. And so they're going back to doing some of the things that people wanted and integrating it into the story at the same time.
Yeah, I'm wondering why Peligir was an epic battle and why this is not, though. I guess just
Nope.
from player outcry? I don't know.
Don't question the ending.
I'm not questioning it too much. It's just, it seems weird and backwards, but I'm glad that it's the case.
Yeah, I'm very glad that they're going to do instance type things and not more epic battles. And that's all I'll say about that.
The last time we've had real instances was with technically the the Hobbit tie-in stuff, but really the last time was Isengard, since we've had like a real instance. So
yeah, this is something to look forward to at least, and it's kind of exciting, and it's good to see them going. Like Brax said, it's good to see them kind of going back to what they used to do and concentrate on.
Yeah, I don't blame them for not going with a raid though, because that kind of like that tier of content seems to be like by far the most expensive and possibly like the least rewarding for them type of content for how much people maybe spend money on it and such.
Yeah, I honestly feel like if Turbine would just go back and do things pretty much exactly the way they did, even back with just Isengard, we'd be in a lot better spot with the game, I think.
Fredulous in the chat says he thinks traditional instances add a level of prestige to the game that has been missing for a few years.
Yeah, I'd kind of agree with that. Alright, any other thoughts on the new instances? Okay, quality of life. The producer's letter continues on. We have been working to identify your most persistent bugs. You can expect a renewed focus on resolving issues that may be small but troublesome to improve overall gameplay experience. So this goes back to the post that they made a while ago about wanting players to mention these type of smaller bugs. And so hopefully they'll be fixing some of them this next year.
Fun bugs.
Well,
that's an old joke. Alright. Episodic content. We are currently in development on a new type of quest content that will roll out like an episodic TV show, a little at a time, as you follow a new friend across Middle-earth, seeing familiar places in a new light. Seeing familiar places in a new light.
At least. That seems like the most interesting aspect of this to me.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this because especially with the way that they tied up the whole Rohan Isengard plot, there were a lot of questions left unanswered about like all the stuff the Rangers were doing and all that sort of thing. But now the Rangers are back with us, so I don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of things that are. There's still a lot of stuff though left in Eriador that they could be telling stories about, and I'm hoping that this basically, allows them to do those type of stories throughout older regions that, tie up some plot lines. What I'm really glad about this, though, is I've been pulling for a long time that instead of having these big updates, have more smaller updates. And with this type of episodic content, theoretically, they could be having more regular content, even though it's in smaller amounts. Which I'm excited about.
I mean, it depends on how they do it, because, I mean, like with Guild Wars 2, they do the episodic content, but there's some issues the way they implemented it, at least in the past, where, yeah, there's episodic content every 2 weeks, there's new stuff, but after that one set of episodic content was finished, after that specific story was told, that content was not available to players anymore. So if they do something like that in LOTRO, that's going to be a problem because, LOTRO is all about the story, and if they just remove that story, then people won't be able to do it anymore. That's a problem. So hopefully they don't do it that way, and it's more.
I really don't
Like,
expect them to
just-
do that. It sounds like, they say it'll roll out like an episodic TV show. I expect all the content to still be there.
Yep.
This seems to be the most mysterious initiative to me. I guess I'm having trouble picturing, since they haven't done. It sounds like something new anyway. It sounds like something they haven't done before. And they talk about following a friend across Middle Earth. I hope it's not Sarah Oakart, because it'll be a long journey.
Stop
But
in the
yeah,
cave.
it's just.
Well, it
I'm
does
having
say a
trouble
new
picturing what this
friend
means.
across Middle Earth.
A new friend. Oh, we better make a new friend.
Yeah, we have to make a new friend. Any other thoughts on the new episodic content?
No, it's pretty much just mystery, so we'll have to just see what they say about it in
Yep.
the future.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the letter continues on server populations. Based on your feedback, we're taking measures to get everyone onto the more populated servers. Everyone onto the more populated servers. So that finding parties is easier and festivals and live events are more fun. We are working on both improved server transfer tools and upgrades for our environments to improve playability. Also, we will be moving our European servers back to the EU. More details on this coming soon. This is probably the thing that adds the most questions out of this letter.
Mm-hmm.
It's, they spent all that time moving
maybe
the
my
Europe
dreams didn't come
servers
true.
over to the US and all that work and issues and all that stuff that happened with that. And then now they're moving them back, which, I mean, that could reduce lag and things like that, which is good, but at the same time, why now? Like, I mean, I
Right.
understand, but like, I don't know. It seems very weird.
Yeah, the timing seems very odd on this. Why not like a year ago? Why?
Hmm
Why now? All of a sudden.
Well, it does say based on your feedback, so maybe a lot of people
I suppose.
complained. I guess I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with, if it ends up being server merges or what happens.
I think, at least my guess from what I can see here, is that they want to make transferring as easy and incentivize it as much as possible, just short of actually making people like move to the bigger servers.
That's
Because I
what
think
it
they
sounds
want
like.
to avoid doing that because of how much hassle there is, and some people being forced to move really do not like it for obvious reasons.
But at the same time, if
Right.
everybody moves off of a server eventually, that could cause them to have to force people to move, in theory.
Well, there's less people who
Well,
will
I mean-
complain then, won't they?
Right.
True.
But the problem is with server transfers right now is it's very expensive
Yeah, it is.
to transfer characters. I recently transferred my character and it cost $25 just to transfer one character. I didn't get to keep my marks and medallions. I didn't get to keep my Mithril coins. I didn't get to keep my wardrobe. It was just it's just too expensive, and I can definitely see why they would want to improve it because it's not a great system as it is.
Yeah, they did recently automate it though, and did recently come up
Yeah, it's
with new
automated, which
prices
is
and
nice.
things like that. So it seems kind of weird that all of a sudden, like just seems like a very weird time to be doing this. But I'm
I think,
excited, or I
that
guess
they should have done it a
optimistic.
while ago, but
Yeah, I agree. I'm optimistic to see what comes of this. Any other thoughts on the server populations section?
I would just want to say that Roger's comment in the chat is pretty much my view on it. Just he seems to say this is the carrot that comes before the stick. So you encourage people to move, and then you force them to consolidate. That way, so many less people are actually unhappy about it, and the costs are a lot lower.
Mm-hmm.
My big question is, I haven't paid. I'll be honest and say I haven't paid any attention at all to Infinite Crisis. Do they have European servers, or are they all North American servers? Because I just want to know, is Turbine going to have to create an all-new data center in Europe since they closed their old one down, or do they already have one that it'll just be easy to move everything over?
If I remember right, I think they do have Europe servers for Infinite Crisis.
Okay. So that'll cut some of the cost down then.
Yeah.
if they, they're not having to start from scratch per se.
Hmm. I mean, Turbine still has, a very large server team, um, based on, what we saw in the credits of Shadow of Mordor and various other things. So they definitely seem to have, servers. They seem to have a lot of focus on that, and some sites have even, speculated that that was the whole reason why Warner Brothers acquired them in the first place, was just because of their server technology. But that's neither here nor there. All right, everybody ready to move on to PvP? Letter continues. PvMP. The team is also seriously investigating a new PvP map in Osgiliath. This landscape would tell the story of the Battle of Osgiliath, and the layout of the city, split by the Anduin, is perfect for smaller and more tightly focused conflicts than the Etmors. This would make the perfect platform for gradual improvements to the PvP experience overall. We'll provide additional updates on this initiative as we get deeper into 2015.
They did it again. They dangled that same carrot.
Yep.
It must be getting old and smelly at this point.
I would say that's true, but at the same time, this is the most appetizing the carrots looked. I mean, they have a lot of details here. I still don't believe it's going to happen because I want to protect myself.
Seriously investigating.
I want to protect myself
Shows they're
emotionally.
not.
Okay, let's just be honest. How many times have they rumored or hinted that, oh yeah, Osgiliath is going to be PBMP? Maybe, could be. We're looking into it.
Well, they've been.
I mean, how many times can you cry wolf? You know.
The thing is, though, they said for a long time that there might be a new PvP map, but then around the time of post Isengard, they started to there started to be rumors that maybe it's going to be Osgiliath, and so I mean, people have been wanting an Osgiliath PvP map for several years now. And the fact that they're really dangling the carrot and mentioning that the new map is probably going to be Osgiliath for PvP still does not leave me confident that they're going to do it. But this is farther than they've gone before about say, because they never even said what the new PvP map was going to be. So I'm cautiously, very cautiously. I'm not even optimistic. I'm just cautious about this, I guess. Just because they've taken away, promised and taken away so many times to PvP players.
They also made a follow-up, or that follow-up post mentioned something about the PvP map too, in that it's going to be a kind of layered version of Osgiliath. So it'll be the same map, presumably with all the same stuff in it, but for the most part, and then the PvP map will be just a separate layer, which is pretty much what I expected them to do with it. That way the people who are there for the story don't get to miss out.
Yeah, I think that
I think that's a good way to do it.
if you're going to do it, I mean, everyone's going to want to go to Osgiliath that knows what Osgiliath is. And so it's definitely good that they're making it be a different layer. So many people would be upset about, Osgiliath if it wasn't for that. And it seems like, that's another kind of thing that they're doing with servers. They've never had a whole area where there's something totally different going on. I mean, they've had like phasing, but players are still like together in the same area. They've never had a whole nother layer like this before. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Alright, and the letter does continue on, and that is just for the first half of this year. Stay tuned for more detail on all of the above and more on what will come along with Minas Tirith as we get deeper into the year. As always, we look forward to your feedback and suggestions as we take this journey together. We look forward to seeing you in Middle-earth as LOTRO enters its 8th year. Happy New Year, and the unpronounceable name. Vivian?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just spelled with Y's, and that confuses people, apparently.
It does. but trust the person with Y's to pronounce it. All right. So that is the producer's letter for the first half of 2015. As a whole, what do you guys think on this? Where are we at? What do we think? How do we think LOTRO's doing? Brax, why don't you start us
I
off?
mean, oh, he's not on the call anymore.
He's not? Oh, well,
No, he
Siltrith,
dropped off.
why don't you start us off?
He was having connection issues.
Okay.
So I don't know. It all sounds good and well and fine. I just don't feel like there's quite enough detail or specifics or anything to get too optimistic about just yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still kind of like wait and see, basically, is how I'm. I mean, it's great that they're saying they're working on all these things, and I definitely think it's a good direction to go in. But I mean, until I actually start seeing some of these things tested or implemented, I'm gonna just remain kind of, yeah.
Yeah, does anybody else have a different opinion than that?
Not really. I'm pretty much in the same camp, especially the PvP map, because I'm very leery of how they're going to do that.
Yeah, until we start seeing screenshot, I mean, even if we see a like concept video of the PvP map, until it's on beta server, I'm not confident it's coming. And even then, I'd be not so sure. And it's just because they've dangled that carrot so many times, like we said earlier, and maybe this is the time that they finally let us have it. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. The server changes are confusing. Not sure what they're going to do there. The episodic content, don't really know about. Quality of life stuff, that's nice, but nothing major really there. The new instances is a really big deal for a lot of players. And the legendary item update finally coming is also a big deal as well. So, we have a new producer. Hopefully things will go better. It'll be interesting to see, and as always, only time will tell. But all we can do is hope for the best and plan for the worst. But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to this chat about the 2015 producer's letter. And as always, we'll continue to be covering all the stuff that goes on in LOTRO as it comes out on LOTROplayers.com. We are always writing news articles and things like that. And then we have our weekly news podcast, LOTRO Players News, where we discuss things like this. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you again real soon for LOTRO Players News.